everyone. I'm going to get us started today. My name is Joshua Johnston. I'm the president of the Governor's Distinguished Managers Association. We have a very special guest today, Governor Inslee. We have about 20 minutes with him. Before I turn it over to the governor, I'd like to acknowledge that I'm speaking to you today from the unceded lands of the Puget Sound Salish people, from whom this land was forcibly removed by federal accession through the Medicine Creek Treaty of 1854, and who continue to steward the lands today. I honor their culture, their history, and identity, and acknowledge their socio-political reality. I honor their ancestors and current elders and give thanks. Thank you. A few logistics about the meeting before we get started. We're going to place everyone on mute. If you have a question, please put it in the comments section or raise your hand. Our Secretary Treasurer, Yvonne Knutson, is monitoring and will call on you. And if you're comfortable, please turn on your cameras. With that, I'll turn it over to the governor. Governor, I believe you are on mute.
Well, you know, somebody has to do it, and why not the governor? You know, we'll start right at the top. I think humility is important, and I try to demonstrate it every day, and I just did. So, hey, listen, this is a distinguished group for a lot of reasons. We've done some good work together, but I want us to talk about the state for a moment. We're a distinguished state. So by definition, everybody on this call is distinguished because we work for a very distinguished state. No other state, I don't think in American history, has been named the best state in the country 2 years in a row, and we have. And everybody on this call in some fashion has added to this in a lot of different ways where the rubber meets the road. And I hope that you do take pride in your work. You should. It makes a big difference in the lives of people. And we have a lot to be proud of in our state, including now we've got the best climate change policies in the United States. We're doing more to fight greenhouse gases than any state in the country right now. It means we got the best career connected learning program. It means we got the best financial aid package for our college students. We're making huge progress in healthcare with the first public option and providing increasing numbers of insured people. In so many different ways, we're a great state. And I am giving you license to brag about our state unmercifully. There is a place for humility, but it is not in the state of Washington. And so congratulations, what everybody's doing. Hope you take pride in our state, what you're doing. I think you ought to do it. My comments today, I've been told, should be centered on integrity. And I'll just make a couple of comments on integrity, what it means to me and what we can do to assure integrity in our state government. I actually think one of the best things we can do is to be transparent in our operations and in our relationships with the citizens we serve. If you think about what ensures integrity, it's a bright light. And we have favored a bright light in our state. I've been able to get a few awards as governor, and one of them is from the press as one of the most open, transparent administrations in state history. And I think that actually is one of the best tools to assure integrity is to be transparent in all our operations. To show things we're proud of, to show the warts, to show what we're doing to improve, to be open to inquiry. And I know that's hard sometimes, right? Because we like to all be, present a picture of perfection to the public. That's why we shave, at least some of us, and in the morning and comb our hair. But I just want to say that I'm proud of the work we've done to be responsive to public records requests, to accept criticisms with a bit of stalwart acceptance, to be slow to snap back at our critics, although they deserve it once in a while, and to adopt that kind of attitude that we want to have an open dialogue with the people we serve. I know everybody's internalized in their own idea about what integrity means. I'll make a comment about integrity sometimes can be, quote, difficult in a democracy, though, and I'll tell you why. When you listen to artists talk, they talk about artistic integrity, meaning they have a vision that they want to portray and they refuse to accept anybody else's vision They won't ever be censored. They won't ever be inhibited. They have a true view of reality they want to portray, or a message. That's easier for artists. It's easier for poets and painters than it is people who work in democracy, because we have to accumulate and respect the visions of 7 million people who are different. We have a harder issue to preserve quote integrity. And so sometimes it challenges us to find a consensus, but I know we're committed to it. So that is my 4-minute rendition of integrity according to one governor. And I want to thank everybody's efforts in that regard. So I hope I can stand for some easy questions or gentle criticisms from this group. Somebody's in charge of this meeting, I hope.
Yeah, Governor, folks are probably typing in, but just to get us started, maybe talk about a time that your personal integrity was challenged, or you were forced to make a decision that challenged your personal integrity.
Well, I think that people in elected office frequently face issues of, what they believe is in the best interest of the people they serve, and what might be the immediate reaction to a short-term issue in the public. And I've been asked this question, hundreds of times, and I've never come up with a cliche to answer it. How do you judge if you have a clear understanding of what's in the best interest of the people you're supposed to help out, preserve their health and their dreams, and what the public's perception of a particular vote or issue is at the moment, that might be based on a lot less information than you have at your disposal. It might be based on a misunderstanding of the true ramifications of it. And these are always difficult issues about where you balance your personal understanding of an issue. What I think of your stewardship responsibility. You have a stewardship responsibility for the people we serve, but you also have a responsibility to reflect their perceptions, values, positions, etc. Those things can be in conflict, and to some degree, it's an integrity issue. And I wish I had a pat way to say how to balance those. Those are frequently not in easy sync. COVID's an example. I have information at my disposal because I can spend 16 hours a day getting briefed on the most recent science of COVID. And I have some responsibility to save lives in our state. Not everybody has the opportunity to listen to 16 hours of scientific information every day. So how do you judge my job to protect people and people's perception of what risk they want to run or not? You do the best you can. That's my best answer. But in my public life, you're kind of challenged by that almost every day. I've always been comfortable. I've never had a position that I've been in public life for 25 years, and I'm trying to think a moment where I feel that I didn't do my best to balance those things. I can't think of any. I've done some things that have been politically injurious to my own prospects. I voted for the assault weapon ban in 1994. I believe that was fundamental to saving lives. A lot of my constituents didn't think so, and I lost my next election. But I never regretted that. I think it was a vote of integrity because it expressed what my understanding is of my obligation to save people's lives. And I felt that was an obligation. So I've always slept well.
Thank you. And we have Tommy Mollis who has a question for you next. Go ahead, Tommy.
Oh, do you want me to ask? I thought all right, no problem.
You get to ask it yourself.
Thank you, Governor. My question for you is, what is your secret sauce? Example, what are the 3 to 5 leadership principles that you have discovered and executed that have contributed to your success?
I'm glad you consider it a success. I appreciate that, that basic belief. Well, I think the skills of these positions are first listening. And I list that first, which might surprise people because politicians tend to want to ramble on. Nancy Pelosi, who's a speaker's house, who's an unbelievable leader, political leader. I've worked with Obama and Clinton and, Bush, and I've worked with a whole bunch of presidents, but I have to tell you, her leadership skill is almost unsurpassed working with a group of people. And if you ask her why she's successful, she says, because I'm a really good listener. I listen to what people's real motivations are, what they really want, and I can ascertain what they really want because I'm a good listener. I'm not maybe as good as she is in that regard. I would say this is an aspirational thing for me sometimes in that regard. I would say that I have had a clarity of value-driven decision-making that's based on values rather than expediency or drifting with the wind or surface-based short-term thinking. And just one example, I believe very strongly in the value of our first priorities to our children and our grandchildren. And that has driven me in a lot of policy positions, particularly in climate change, that's based on values rather than polling or focus groups or short-term thinking. I think that has served me well. Work is not a bad thing to be willing to do, to work long hours. I know people do on this call, and being able to demonstrate that. Being able to accept diversity of opinion, I think, without developing ill will, so that you respect people's different views than yours, and it doesn't cloud your ability to listen to them or to respect their other opinions. And I think I've tried to do that as much as I can. It's difficult sometimes. So there's 4. I don't know if I can come up with 5.
Thank you, Governor. The next question is going to be to Jesse.
So this is kind of a follow-up to your first question, your first response, where you said basically values and integrity help you create your own vision. And I'm curious, when you're dealing with people who just don't have the same values, they don't have the same vision, and so they're not meeting your expectations, how do you handle those situations?
Well, it comes to the last thing I mentioned in the previous question, is to try to maintain a willingness to listen, first be open to their ideas, to try to ascertain where they're really coming from, to be able to be open to their other concepts and their other ideas. Look, we're all a package of 100 different issues every day. Maybe you disagree on 85 of them, but if you find the 15 that you have in common that you can work together on, try to focus on those. Try to focus on a way that you can find a partnership. That certainly, legislators need to learn that very quickly, that you may be diametrically opposed to a legislator one day and be a co-sponsor of a bill the next day. And you look for those opportunities, be open to them, search them out is important. I think identifying the basis of disagreement can be useful so that you understand why you disagree. So I guess I'm saying a dangerous disagreement is where you say the other person just doesn't care about human beings, right? So if you disagree with my position on COVID, one position I could take is, well, that means to me, Harvey, that you just don't care about people and you don't care about your children. That could be one explanation of our disagreement. That would lead to much more vitriol to say that was the reason. But there might be another reason, which is they just think restrictions that might have been imposed just don't work because the science doesn't support them. That is a less vitriolic disagreement. So that if you can try to identify the reason for the disagreement, sometimes it can narrow the gap between you and somebody who sees it a little differently. It might say, okay, Harvey, if I can show you evidence that it worked in Ephrata, maybe we can have this conversation 2 months from now and let's see what worked. Maybe we'll be closer. Now we figured out how we can find consensus on it. Or maybe you'll show I'm wrong, right? It didn't work. So identifying what separates you, I think, can be helpful. And then just be ever optimistic that people can get together over time. And then accept disagreements too, right? You're just going to have disagreements. That's the nature of life. And I have a lot of people whose company I enjoy who I disagree with fundamentally on things. And you just got to accept that as life.
Thank you. Next question is for Renee Smith.
Hi, Governor. It's good to see you. So my question is there a book on the shelf behind you, apart from your own book, is there a book on the shelf behind you that you return to again and again? That's sort of a go-to book or something, a book that's influenced you? And in addition to that, what are you reading right now?
So I don't know if Apollo's Fire, a little book I co-author, is back there. It is, but I don't prominently display it when I'm on national television, like many authors do. You'll see their book right behind them. So anyway, it is up there. I don't know. Did you actually see it? Did you notice it?
I did, yes.
That's actually accidental. I'm sorry. I'm not pleading guilty to that.
We don't mind product placement.
Let's see. What's up here that I return to? Let's see. What do I return to? Well, the thesaurus, for one thing. Bill Bryson's book, A Short History of Nearly Everything. You can read that every day and just keep coming back to it because there's just such amazing information. I highly recommend it. It's appropriate to everything. I should read Profiles in Courage, which is John Kennedy's, of course, Pulitzer-Rising book. He wrote when he was in a hospital bed, recovering from very, very serious back surgery. They didn't even know if he was going to live. He had like last rites. And while he was in recovery, he wrote that book. And that's a book about losers, as you know. These are people who took courageous stands of integrity and lost their elections, their position as a result. Now, I suppose I should read that when I lose a political battle. But I haven't reread it that much. What else have I got there? I got Jefferson. And I was rereading 1,000 Days about the first 1,000 days of the Kennedy administration, but I got bogged down a little bit. I'm reading Obama's book right now about his first term. It's fascinating. He is such an amazing writer. He's just so talented as a writer. I mean, if you didn't care about his administration at all, he's a brilliant person. I know him a little bit, and so I'm enjoying that book. Trudi's reading. Actually, what else? My brother-in-law, I got to start reading Overstory, a story about trees, which is fascinating. And my grandchildren are reading Bears in the Boat, which is a book I gave them a couple Christmases ago. I do a book Trudi and I do a book every holiday season for our kids. So what are you reading?
Oh my goodness, what am I reading? Right now, I'm actually reading The Engineer's Wife, about the woman who built the Brooklyn Bridge.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. It's a novelized version of that story. Yeah, it's part of a book club. So thank you for your selection.
Engineer's Wife.
Yeah,
Interesting.
Engineer's Wife.
The Brooklyn Bridge is an interesting story. I read a short tome about it years ago. Interesting story.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I love your sea star behind your right ear there too. That's good.
Thank you. Thank you.
I have been told that is all the time that we have for today with the governor. Governor, thank you so much for taking time out of your extremely busy schedule. I really appreciate it. And we all just appreciate your leadership, especially during this really challenging time. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you. Everybody's a leader on this call. Everybody's a leader. And I appreciate your leadership. I know you're making an impact whatever you're doing on people's lives. And I do hope you take pride in that. And you should talk about your successes as well. We gotta be a little proud of the work we do in the state of Washington. So thanks a million. Please make sure you get vaccinated and work with your teams on that too. Pretty important right now. Thanks you guys. Be well. Go Mariners, go Rainiers. Take care.